I've played the Resident Evil 4 demo, and I have to be honest, I don't like it. I fucking love it. Alright, calm down. Baited. Look, Resident Evil 4 is without a doubt one of the best games to ever grace our consoles, and yet when they announced this remake, I had mixed feelings. On one hand, the Resi 2 remake was just so good. The Resi 3 remake was just as well done, but sections were cut and it was really a bit rushed, but nevertheless, it was a decent remake. On the other hand though, Resident Evil 4 isn't actually a game that needs remaking. The original version of this game is held in such high esteem. This game's not just special to the people that experienced it, but also to the industry itself, as it's regarded as the game that revolutionised the over-the-shoulder third-person shooter. It's not that Resident Evil 2 and 3 weren't prestigious games, but they were pre the third-person revolution. And since you can consider Resident Evil 4 as the poster child for the third-person revolution, well, the concept for Resident Evil 2 and 3 is essentially, what would these games be like if they were Resident Evil 4? If they were built like Resident Evil 4? And so you can begin to see the source of my apprehension. Resident Evil 4 is already Resident Evil 4. You can't make source material closer to the source. And honestly, every inch of this game is smothered in charm, so much so that even bits we all hated still held certain charm. It's honestly up there as about as close as it gets to the perfect game for me. And now you want to fuck with it. Well, thankfully Capcom have been extra kind and given us a demo. Why are more of you not doing this, by the way? What a fucking excellent way of letting an audience know whether they want to play your game or not. So yeah, I've just finished playing the demo. It's only about 20 minutes in length, so there's not an awful lot being given away here, but in terms of things we can learn about the game itself and how it's going to look and how it's going to play, well, it's packed to the fucking brim with that stuff. So I think what I really like most about what they've done here is just how fucking creepy they've made it. You can see how they've really just gone all in on making the environments and the atmosphere just so much creepier than the original. You know, the original Resident Evil 4 did a lot of things differently to the games that came before it, but if there was one kind of like overarching thing, aside from the obvious, like, you know, the graphics, the way it looked and the way it played, it was how they kind of lent away from just the pure terrorizing fear that was consistent in the first three. I mean, just look at how light this is right at the start of the game, and compare that with this from the remake. You can see how the atmosphere straight away is just dialed up to 10. I didn't think this would make such an impact on me because it was kind of something that I didn't realise was missing in a sense, but it really did. It makes the start of the game reminiscent to the start of Resident Evil 7 as you approach the house. Everything just looks spookier, the lighting, the atmosphere, the detail in the environment, and you can tell that dialing up the creepy was an informed decision because they've removed the two police officers that you travel with in the original, just kind of double down on that feeling of being alone, that feeling of seclusion. Man, just look at the environmental design compared to the first one. It's just so much more detailed and so much better. Obviously, I mean, these games are 20 years apart. I would expect it to look a hell of a lot better, but I didn't expect it to kind of feel better in the sense of immersion. I didn't expect to genuinely feel creeped out right at the start of the game this early on, even when I kind of knew what was coming and knew what to expect. And I think this caught me off guard really, because if you'd have asked me before I played the demo whether I felt like there was any sense of immersion missing from the original, I would have said no, because I've got nothing bad to say about the original. But genuinely, this feels so much better. Like, you can really feel how evil this place is that you're exploring. This guy shit me up. They fucking double goosed us there. They had the camera from the side on view as if to insinuate something was going to be waiting behind the door, but then there's not. But then there fucking is! It was behind Leon. Love that shit. This whole section was really cool. So the next thing to talk about is the enemies, the Ganados. So in Resident Evil 4, the game stepped away from traditional zombies and had these guys who were basically exactly like zombies, except these guys are technically still alive. Instead of being dead, these guys have been infected by this parasite, the Las Plagas, which is basically a thing in the brain that controls you and makes you do stuff against your will. It's the exact same idea as Naughty Dog came up with for The Last of Us, except not a mushroom and a parasite instead. and done 10 years earlier. Anyway, these things are just so fucking scary and I absolutely love it. Even the very first guy you fight is just completely fucking mangled, with his head basically dangling off his shoulders. It's plain to see that this game is leaving behind a lot of what made the original kind of goofy and replacing it with the Resident Evil survival horror roots. And I thought that I kind of wouldn't be into that. The goofiness was a big part of what made Resident Evil 4 so lovable in the first place, but after playing this, I'm just like, I'm here for it. Like, fuck the goof. That being said, the goof isn't gone entirely. Even in just 20 minutes of playtime, we've still got Leon's absolutely ridiculous tuck and roll second floor window dive, and I had more than one of Leon's cringy action movie one-liners.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
And of course, you can still go full John Wick and kick the fuck out of the bad guys. But so far at least, the balance seems a path well walked. There isn't too much of the goof to take away from the incredibly immersive setting that the remake has created. The main event of this demo is obviously the first big battle in the small village where you come up against a horde of Ganados and also Dr. Salvador, aka Chainsaw Bastard. Now this section is every bit as hectic and exciting as you would expect it to be. I think the gist is that the demo ends when you kill Chainsaw Bastard, so I used this as a good opportunity to have a good wander around the area and explore. Everything in this section stays pretty close to the original really, in terms of where you can go and what buildings there are. I did notice a couple of changes though that I think could be easily missed. The first thing was if you climb the bell tower in this one, the floor actually gives way underneath you, so you can't use it as a place to hide. I'm not 100% sure if this was in the original or not, but you can shoot this lantern dangling from the top of the barn. You can set the cow and the barn on fire, so you can use that to take out a few enemies. Although when I played the demo, I feel like I instinctively knew that I could do that, so I think that was actually given away in one of the trailers. Also, I'm like 99.9% sure this wasn't in the original, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Chainsaw Man will actually hack and slash at the Ganados if they get in his way, which can be incredibly helpful and is also just fucking awesome. So also I noticed a couple of gameplay features which have been added to the game which weren't in the original. Of course, it was teased in the trailer that we can block the Chainsaw Man by using the knife, and that's true, I did it in my playthrough, but what I didn't realise is it actually breaks your knife doing that. So that means that in the game we can expect to either find multiple knives or there's going to be a way of repairing your knife. So this is another feature that's not in the original, and it's pretty important to be honest. You can now sneak around and melee kill unsuspecting bad guys. Now don't get me wrong, this felt cool. I mean, when does this kind of thing not feel cool in a game? It's always satisfying disarming enemies by sneaking and assassinating, but I did wonder if this addition might make certain areas of the game slightly easier than it was in the original. I guess time will tell on that one. The next one's kind of a little cheese, as in, I don't think it was purposely put in the game as a mechanic to be used by players, but it is helpful nonetheless. So when enemies try and grab you, you can actually dodge their grab by crouching just at the right time. Very handy. Crouch cancel. Another thing which is just fucking awesome and my favourite thing to do is that you can use your knife to block enemy projectiles, and it just feels super fun. It feels super tight doing it, and if you didn't realise it, then get yourself back on that demo and try it out. Trust me. It's not all glowing though. Are you ready? There are some parts of this demo that I just didn't like, or actually it's not that I didn't like them, it's just that I preferred the original. I preferred how it was in the original. The first is the dog, the sweet, helpless goddess boy from the start of the game that's been clamped up in a bear trap. It's tragic, but you actually save the dog in the original, and it's just this tiny little serene moment in an otherwise devastating affair. Now obviously in the remake they didn't think it was all that of an important moment because they've decided to take it out, or rather when you get to the dog it's actually dead and mangled and been feasted on by crows. Now I'm definitely looking into this a little bit too deep, but I really wanted that bit to be in the game because I think that that bit sent such a cool message about how just void of anything nice this place that you're entering actually is. How what's ahead is just pure fucking evil and terror. The poor pets that these people once owned have been left abandoned or worse. It was a really sad little moment, but also filled with joy. It made you feel like you were the only good thing in this town, and that's the truth really. But yeah, maybe I'm deep in it too much, but I was genuinely annoyed when they removed that, especially when they made the decision to keep in the fucking ridiculous window roll. The other thing I can't help but miss, the menu sounds, man. they're just so deeply tied to my nostalgia for this game that it just didn't feel right not having them there. But all that being said, these are medial things when compared to the greatness they seem to have achieved with this remake. All in all, it looks like a stellar job's been done here. The developers have really got the most out of the RE engine. It looks and plays incredibly smooth, and I just cannot wait to get my hands on the full game. That's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.